Welcome, everybody. And
Officially
I've
live.
got Amy Works here, and we are set up on Instagram Live, and we've also got our podcast episode. Amy's currently in Bali. She's just on a 9-day retreat. Tell us where you are and what's going on in your life.
It has been a big 10 days, 2 weeks. It's been insane. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. So thank you for having me on your podcast. It's been wild. I don't know where to begin. It's been genuinely mental on so many levels, so expansive, so much growth, guilt of not replying, not being on Instagram. It's been amazing. But overall, the overarching feeling is like, holy shit, I've just been working in Bali on a 9-night retreat with two of my best friends. Like, what is life?
Yeah.
Been very cool.
Yeah. For anybody that does not know Amy, I met Amy. Amy is my coach and one of her mentees. I came across Amy on Instagram. One of your viral reels popped up on my phone, and I remember being like, holy shit, who is this girl? All the energy that you'll see whenever you go onto her profile. And really from there, it's just escalated. I knew, okay, this is the exact vibes that I want for my business, and I want to be in this space. And yeah, from there, it's just gone step by step. Then I worked with you for a while, but I'm part of Amy's year-long membership, and it's been unreal. And he is a massive part of why this podcast is here now and what I'm doing and how things are changing. In the last episode that I recorded, it was really how things have moved from primary school teaching to now this expanded version of not just health, but life. Why this podcast is here, the Unlocked Life, because really what I love is not just here. And I think there's so much out there on what people are up to in the world, like the big things that people are doing, people that really inspire us. But what I'm hungry for and what I want to provide for other people is the like pre transformation. Like, what actually was the Amy Morgan soul journey to get to where you are now? Not just what is happening in your life, but what were the micro shifts and the mindset changes and the little habits? That's what I think is really
Mhm.
helpful for listeners, because then we can meet the version of us in their story, like where we're at now, and then actually see, oh,
Mhm.
there is a path. So wherever I feel stuck in, there is somewhere for me to go. Like, it is possible. With
Mhm.
that, I would love to ask you to tell us when you felt the most locked in life. Is there a before and after, or has this been a continual unlocking for you? Because your story is amazing.
I think it's been such a journey, and I definitely feel like there was an unlocking in some sort. I call myself a body freedom guide in the sense of I wouldn't categorize myself as just a business mentor, nor just a breathwork instructor or somatics instructor, because I feel like it's definitely a blend of all of the things. And my overarching thing that I support people with is trying to tap into or unlock the authentic version of yourself that is there somewhere. Society, trauma, experience, the way that we've been brought up, the way that things happen to us in life or that we are taught almost stops us or prevents us from tapping into that version of us. And I think for me, I've always been quote unquote different, whatever that means. I don't think there's anything as different. I think it's just not doing the norm of what you're taught. But if you want to say different, I've always been different. I could not wait to change sixth form when I left school. I was like, get me out of this high school. I'm ready for a different sixth form. I want to meet new people. I've always wanted to expand because I've always quite not felt like I really belonged with the people that growing up. They definitely weren't necessarily my people. And then when I went to sixth form, I quit after a year, which isn't something I really speak about, to be honest. I became an au pair. At 17 years old, I flew to Spain and I was like, I'm going to be an au pair. I was there for 2 weeks and I was like, I hate this. Send me back. But I always stepped out of my comfort zone and always did what was not seen as normal. Came back, did sixth form, and then didn't go to university. The first thing I wanted to do was go and travel. I've always done what isn't expected of me. I think my biggest unlocking to get to where I am now was stepping into being comfortable with who I am and actually being comfortable with I'm not whatever normal means. I love the weird stuff. I want to be naive. I love falling in love too hard, too fast, being hopelessly romantic. I love having an idea and just running with it. So I think the last time I felt locked, or the moment that was like a real unlocking for me, was probably my last relationship, when I finally broke up with them after begging for their love, support, for someone or anyone to just want me. And I finally was like, I have to choose myself. And it's a choice to choose myself. That was the biggest shift for me, without a doubt. And everything that just came beyond that has been insane. It's been 3 years in total now. The last year has been wild, but it is a continuous choice of choosing you. And no one else can do that for you apart from you, which is why it can be so hard sometimes. But yeah, I think that would be the first step of me feeling that unlocking, was being comfortable with me and my difference and my similarities. Just knowing that there was more out there, and knowing that it was scary and still going with it.
So what I'm hearing is like there was a belief system that you had taken on from whatever influences that led you to that relationship thing. This is the way it is. This is how I'm meant to be with this person. This is what I deserve, or this is as good as it gets. Was there a shift? Was there a new belief that you needed to take on in that unlocking?
I think it's funny. I was talking to someone about this the other day, of like, where do you have this belief system of everything just works out? I mentioned it once before, but genuinely, I think it comes from my mum more than I even realized. My mum and dad are very different in the way that they are. My dad's very much, hey, we've got this amount of money. If we have X amount of money every year and I live until I'm 100, we're broke right now. And I'm like, oh my God. And my mum's, money comes, I don't care. Like, money will fall out of the sky from her, whether it's an inheritance or something. And she's so free spirited. She's, let's book all the holidays. Let's go for it. Not in a loose way, but more in a way of, she is a deep knowing that it will just work out. And I think subconsciously that's been instilled in me without realizing, but also recognizing the polarity. Sometimes I can hear my dad's voice as I'm speaking, and I'm like, it was seeing this reoccurring pattern that I was having through every relationship, every job that I'd quit, every relationship that I'd subconsciously driven away, because I needed this real masculine energy. I needed them to want me, to make me happy. I needed them to tell me what I was going to do with my life, give me a whole group of friends, because I'd been so transient my whole life with traveling a lot. I didn't really have a big group of friends at home. So every relationship I got in, it was like, okay, perfect. I have a boyfriend, I have friends. I always managed to find a job around what they did or something that they'd worked in before. I think recognizing that these continuous patterns were following me, be like, oh, I can never meet the right person. Like, why does this happen to me? Why me? That was my phrase. And realizing that, why me? I was enabling myself to stay in those situations because I didn't realize the possibility of what was out there. Also, because of the way that society is, you get a job, you keep working, you get married, you do these things. And I used to say, funnily enough, because now I'm an entrepreneur and I love it, but I used to say, I was not born to work. But everything around me was like, get a job, grow up. I don't want to do this. The realization that it's going to be confusing for everyone around you, but I think you always have a deep knowing. A lot of the time we ignore it out of fear.
Yeah, and it's Amy, because you're within my space and what is moving with my clients. Big thing is that once we rebuild the foundations of their health, which also includes maybe for the first time work around self-worth, deservingness, and once we lay those, then I feel like people have the energy, the mental energy to be like, I'm actually so sick of this part of my life, or always felt stuck in this part, whatever it might
Mm.
be. I think the pattern for me this year with my clients has been career, has been shifts around. Actually, I've wanted to get out for so long, but I never thought I could. I meet a lot of people like, I have a clue what I want to do. I know what I don't want. From your own experience, when you're in that position of this feels awful, but I feel stuck, I don't know what the next step is. What's your advice for those people?
Good question. Everything always works out. Nothing is ever a failure. It's always a step forward or it's a success. People often say to me, "How did you do it?" And I'm like, "What's the alternative? I go and get a job that I was doing 3 years ago that you're doing. Like, no offense, like it's fine. I'll survive if I have to do that."
Been 10 days in Bali.
I know. And
Different truth.
staring out to the pool.
Oh, my question is for people feeling confused around next
Mm,
steps, even just connection with what they enjoy. Doesn't have to be as far as career, but what feels good for them. A lot of people, myself included, back in the day, the whole week, minus maybe the weekend, is spent doing things where you're like, I hate this, but
mhm.
I have no choice.
Yeah. I think moving forward, and like I say, nothing's ever a failure. It's always a step forward in any way. It's a real test because you really have to, whether it's life, whether it's business, you really have to be able to expand your capacity for risk and also for people saying no and things not going the way that you originally thought. When you have a good capacity to hold the risk and hold the closed doors or the times where things don't feel like they're going well, you literally are unstoppable in every sense.
Yeah.
I think I'm where I'm at because I have quit. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm a qualified barber. I did nursing at university for a moment. I've done all the hospitality, sales jobs, everything. I've also built 2 camper vans from scratch, like electricity, plumbing, carpentry, everything. The most random array of skills, but I've taken so much from all of them because I've taken this realization that actually I have huge motivation when I want to be doing something. I have a lot of resilience of no matter how hard it is in the moment, I will keep going because I'm the only person that can hold me accountable. That's the hardest thing in life or in business. You will only go as far as you will take yourself. In society, it's frowned upon or pushed to the side when you have lots of different skills, but you can take many things from those skills. When I did hospitality, I learned massively about customer service. I learned, yes, the customer's always right, but also now I'm in business. I'm like, yes, the customer's always right when you actually work with the right aligned clients. Because sometimes people aren't aligned in your life, whether it's client or personal. From building a camper van, I learned that resilience is really hard. And right now, I don't have a choice. I have to get this finished. And actually being able to prove to myself of, oh, I can do the hard stuff. And I think this phrase, everyone knows it, and I've definitely said it before, jack of all trades, master of none, but more often than not, better than a master of one. And it's so true. One thing that stayed in my mind is when I was doing this camper van, I used to have all these old guys that would walk past and be super nosy. They'd be like, "What do you mean you're doing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." I had this one guy that used to come all the time and he left. I didn't see him for a while. And he came back one day in his real old school Jag and handed me this book. I can't remember the name of it, but it was something around the art of having lots of different skills. And he was like, "You are going to go so far because you can do whatever you want to do." And it just stayed in my mind. It stuck with me. I'm not scared of it not working because it's always working in the best way if you don't try. It's the same beautiful phrase of the lotus, it grows from the mud. You cannot know the beauty of that lotus without being in the mud. And equally, how can you experience this high highs without sometimes experiencing the lows or the hard times? Recognizing that it's all part of your human experience. Like my friend said to me once, you're in this bag of skin floating around on this random rock. You have the ability to feel everything and do everything. So why would you not?
Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I know I've chatted with you about this before. This growing up, constant fear of family death. For me, it was like,
Mm,
I'm going to lose them. I'm going to lose them. Or what if this happens? What if that happens? And while I still have no idea where that really came from, there was no, thank God, one big moment where I was like, ah, what it has given me, what I see now, it's really given me this heightened awareness of how fragile life is. I've been scared of it for so long, but now it feels like the time for me to utilize it in a way of we're all going to die, and that's scary to me. But it also makes me feel so revved up. I want to make this unbelievable journey really good for myself. I think that has spurred on the evolution of what I'm doing as well. It's health, but why do we want to get healthy? Like, we're not just getting healthy because we can flex about our sleep or we
Yeah.
can get tanned or toned or whatever it might be. They're nice. But the reason that we want to get healthy is because we want to live to the max of the most incredible life
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be skinny, but why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be skinny?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I want to have lots of money, but why?
Mm.
It's like we need to get in touch with and when you do that, you
Yeah.
actually recognize that you have a lot of that already in your current life. And I think that's the biggest like moment.
Yeah.
How do you do it? I was never chasing something. I really truly wanted to be happy. The bare minimum. I know someone like, oh, that's really sad. Like all you wanted to do was be happy. I'm like, yeah, I wanted to be happy. And look what that's given me. Look what those next steps like. I'm now in an amazing relationship. I'm in fucking Bali for the last 3 weeks. I have an incredible business. I'm actively working with 20 women, plus actually way more than that because I've got my membership. But it's insane when you go to actually really simple things of what do you want from your life. And it's so magic when you break it down. So
Yeah.
magic.
Yesterday, I talked about this on Instagram because it's probably landing for the first time. I mean, you've been talking to our group about this for so long, and it was like, oh, that's really nice. Like, it really hit me yesterday. It was like, what if all of the things that I'm chasing or trying to achieve are already here? Like, they're already here. Can I then just like gleefully move through whatever starts to unfold for
Yeah.
me?
Just get
Or took
bigger.
massive pressure off. I think it just takes so much pressure off.
Yeah, it's insane. And I love that. I could say things a million times and it won't land for months, sometimes even years. Your body needs to be ready to hear it. And sometimes we aren't. I recognize I'm still not ready to hear some things that maybe people see or hear or recognize about me. I think that's okay as well. It's this constant chasing because one thing that I know, and it's so funny, it came up on my throwbacks or timeline on Instagram these days of this day last year. And I only listened to the first sentence of it. And it said, one thing I know from so much traveling is the grass is always greener on the other side. And it's so true. You're at home and like, oh, I want to travel. You're traveling, you're like, I need stability. It's always greener. I want to have a big business. You have the business and you're like, I'm working too much. The grass is always greener. So it's finding this beautiful middle ground of, hey, I really what I'm doing. I always get asked, you had a 30K month. Amazing. For anyone listening, that's definitely not a regular month, but you had a 30K month. Are you going for a 50K? Book this, I'm going for that. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, loving it. I'm going to make these things that I have better. Those things could come as a byproduct. But for me, it's always a byproduct. My main thing is, am I happy in what I'm doing? And it's a choice, even with big opportunities. And my breathwork instructor is regularly saying, Amy, please will you hold breathworks in the UK and Europe? I want you to head them. Insane opportunity. And right now I'm like, no, I want to have a baby in a couple of years' time. I don't want to make more work for myself and be even more responsible for more people. It's still a choice, even when you are having this success, even when you are in love, still a choice of where you go with it. And when you tap into authentically what you want, sometimes it's a real radical, honest conversation. That's where you can start to move. And it's scary because sometimes it moves very quick and you're like, me,
I guess this is what I want.
oh my God, is
Yeah.
it? When you tap into you so deeply, so honestly, you'll move through these things so quick and you will move past them very quick. Like you may be yearning your whole life to travel. And then you are like, I'm sick, I'm ready, I'm going with it. You do all of the things, you're successful and you travel and you have a business online. Then 6 months later, you might be like, I don't want this anymore. And sometimes that's even more scary because now what do I want? But it's ever growing, ever changing. You're multi-dimensional human beings. How fun is that? I opened a yoga studio and 4 months later stopped teaching yoga. Like Whatever you're doing is fine. You are absolutely grand wherever you are on your journey, life, business, etc. I think it's amazing when you have fun with it.
I know I felt that guilt almost of, God, everything is changing so fast because I'm finally really listening to, if I'm being honest with myself, does this sound like fun or does it not? Is this a chore now or does it not? At a point, primary school teaching was not a chore. Then it became,
Yeah.
this does not feel good. The treatment after treatment at a point was like, oh my God, I am living my dream until it wasn't anymore. I appreciate so much because I've never come across someone who so quickly recognizes whenever it's okay, shift, pivot, new layer. And that really gives me confidence to be like, it's all right for me to not feel good about this anymore. And for anybody listening, it's okay to admit to yourself, like, I am ready for something different. I'm ready for this to change. And
Mhm.
from what we've said, Amy, it really sounds like the full package is twofold. There's two parts, realizing that we're responsible for this life journey, for this experience that we have. Yes, we are in relationship, we're in our family, but ultimately life is our own. We are the creator ourselves, and we have responsibility and we have to take aligned action. At the same time, I find it really hard to balance as well. It's surrendering to this will, I need to trust that this is going to work out. Can I
Mhm.
let go? Can I detach and really feel that even without the aligned action that it's already here? That is hard, at least for me,
Yeah.
that's hard at the minute. In terms of going back to this idea of unlocking through these steps of, I'm now it's time for something new, time for something new. Would you say, have you become a newer version of you every single time? Or do you feel like it's just more back to authenticity? Are you adding to Amy or do you feel like you're just stripping away?
I love that question. I feel like I'm adding to her because I never knew such a career driven, motivated version of myself. However, having said that, I've definitely been driven in other ways. As I teach, your timeline is open ended and you will always meet new versions of yourself as you have different versions of yourself for your partner, for your family, for your friends, for your clients. You're also unlocking new versions of yourself every day with the experiences that you are meeting all the time. In this retreat, for example, one of the things that came up for me, the most beautiful thing you can do as a facilitator is co create with your clients. I never position myself as, oh, I know everything and you guys are just here for the ride. I think it's so incredibly important in retreats because people trigger each other in retreats. I trigger people, trigger me. And it was so interesting. Halfway through the retreat, I had two of my best friends that were on this retreat as well, also facilitating. So it was my retreat, and two of the girls came along. They had a workshop each, and then one of them did a couple of extra yoga classes and things. And we were co facilitating breathworks or at least being involved in the physical touch and body work. And there was one day, it was the free day, halfway point in this retreat. A 9 night retreat for anyone listening is amazing, but gnarly nevertheless. Like it's big. There's lots of energies. And there was 20 people in total on it. So it was huge. Halfway point, we had a free day. And there had been the girls' workshops the day before. So the whole day was their workshops and they were insane. And it was amazing to see them blossom. Like we all did our course together and each of them working the same job that they were in, which they both really enjoy, still wanting to dive into different bits and bobs, but haven't stepped into that yet. It was incredible to watch them facilitate again and see how far they've come along. They've done other courses in the meantime, and it was so magic. Simultaneously that day, the only feedback I was getting was their workshop was amazing. Emma's amazing. Jade's amazing. This retreat wouldn't be the same without them. And I had this real big moment of, oh my God, what about me? Even though the retreat was my retreat. I remember feeling like I was getting myself so worked up about it. I was meeting a new layer of myself, like a childlike version of wanting to be accepted and wanting my things to land really well. The biggest thing that helps me or has helped me in the past and helped me on that is I named it straight away. When we came into, we called it the bat cave or the laboratory. We had our own room, the three of us, in, so we could check out of everyone's energy. I was stressed. I was organizing something. They were like, what's up? I was like, this is going to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever said. I've heard best feedback from you guys all day, and it's been so magic, but no one has said anything about me today. And they were like, oh my God, no, I can 100% resonate. I had my tears, and 10 minutes later, I was fine. I named it in the group the next day. I was like, guys, you're all on a journey, and we are also on this journey as well. And I think it's so magic. Even those uncomfortable times, even when you come up against resistance, I love it when you meet, or don't always love it, don't get me wrong. I'm not like, yeah,
After.
it's chaos, but it moves through so much quicker when you allow it to be present rather than ignoring it, suppressing it. Or even sometimes in the wellness world, there's encouragement to do all of the shit and get through it. And sometimes that's also not appropriate either. I think through this journey, it's definitely unraveling more layers and meeting new versions of yourself. When I was in Costa Rica on my birthday last year, off the back of a facilitation course, I booked this really nice bougie villa. I was on my own. I had this infinity pool. I'd managed to book or bid and get a really cheap version of business class, which I'd never flown before. I was on another planet. And equally, I was sitting there in this pool on my own. And I came back to that and that what? Why do I want to be doing this? I want to be doing this with friends. I want to be doing this with my partner. I want to be doing this with people. And I had a real like birthday break of fuck, am I all business now? Am I all business? Have I lost all of my personality? And again, that's another layer of actually, no, I'm not. I've just never met this version of myself yet. And I like to think about it, if you are familiar with parts work, it's another part coming forward that almost gets to have its time to shine. And sometimes that's longer, sometimes that's less. When you allow those parts to come up, that ego comes up. Oh, I want people to say good things about me. And of course, like the whole retreat was mental. We had the most amazing feedback. When you allow those parts to come up and recognize and honor them, I think you are able to sink into truly who you are. These things can coexist at the same time. This polarity of anger and love, happiness and like sadness, guilt and enjoyment. Everything can coexist at once when you allow it.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, something that I'm noticing in a group of people in the space and myself is that whenever we unlock or meet that new part or a story of always wanted this and you've never given me that, or whatever it might be that starts to come up, that realization, one thing I'm really honoring is how much your body goes into, I don't want to say a shock, but a recalibration within the body too, where
100%.
you meet that in your mind and it's, oh my God, now I'm exhausted. Now I'm wiped out. In my case, it was like things are shifting what I have known for the last half of a year to a new level with whoever I'm going to be working with. If I can do this. For anybody listening who is moving through changes or who will move through changes, and you're like, why do I feel so shit? It's again coming back to your body is trying to get used to this new version of yourself, this
Mm,
new way of being. Literal frequencies that are coming out of your brain, your heart, your everything. Your
yeah.
body has to also start to grow and shift so it can hold that new you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted on that note, Amy, looking at your life as it currently is unlocked. What are the things, this is more like a little practical question, but I'm also really curious, like, what are the things that you have in your toolkit that really differentiates this unlocked version of you compared to a more locked, stuck version?
I would definitely say movement
Mm.
100% in terms of actually allowing your body to move through it. I'm very heady. I'm super up in my head. And even sometimes like body based things like breath work, where you have to really almost sometimes it's a real like work. It's not a relaxing breath work in some respects. And I think even that sometimes I find difficult to switch the brain off and be able to listen to what my intuition, my gut is saying. So for me, tapping into the body is incredibly powerful as probably the number one thing that has helped me through this journey so much is hearing this voice that my body is saying yes or no to. And I think that's why I act so immediately in the energy, because what I often find with clients and in general life, and even myself sometimes, we have this feeling, this thought, this idea, this experience. And we want to sit on it and make sure it's right. And don't get me wrong, there are some experiences that, yes, it needs a little bit more thought. It's a big decision or a big experience. You do need to sit and honor it and make sure it's right. But I also feel like I'm at a stage now where if my body's sharing this with me in whatever way it comes up, whether it's feeling uncomfortable in a situation, whether it's this burst of energy or creativity, I'm now going to roll with it. Like the most perfect example of the night before my Bali retreat. I was like, I want to book another business retreat. Maria's jumped in. So we're
Thank
going in August. I think being able to hear your body is incredibly important and actually recognize what the yeses and the nos are. In previous relationships before where I am now, I always see the before life and the now life in a really weird way. Before the unlocking, I was, even when I was so worried that people were going to leave me or things were going to change, I was also simultaneously always questioning, is this the right person for me? Is this the right
you.
thing for me? These things were coexisting and me being so anxiously attached to situations and people while simultaneously being like, is the grass greener? And it's such a wild, like, feeling to experience. And now being in my body, being able to recognize what those yeses and nos feels like. Also, what we spoke about the other day of learning your cycle. Oh my Lord. Learning your
Mm.
cycle is so insane. Moving your body, listening to your body, learning your cycle, because as women, we can have a week every month where we're like, I don't want anything or anyone, get out of my face. And then all of a sudden you're making decisions based off that. So it's also understanding your cycle. The other massively important thing that has changed my life and been able to support me through this is genuinely being able to speak, like being able to
Yeah.
say what I mean when I mean it, being able to communicate, being able to take responsibility for when maybe I haven't communicated very well, recognizing that there will always be things we need to grow from. Communication was a huge one. And it's still something that I struggle with sometimes. I view myself as maybe too blunt sometimes, but I think I'm slowly coming to a space of that is me, not in the way of I don't want to change. I also recognize that my friends and clients that resonate with me relate and respond to that way of being. I'd say movement, be learning my cycle and how to communicate properly is insane. It's so basic sometimes. I don't sit and journal. I wake up, go on my phone straight away, scroll. I don't do breath work every day. The way I breathe has changed massively. I co-regulate my breath with my partner. Without a doubt, movement, looking at my cycle and my communication are the things I will stand with forever.
Yeah, I think definitely you're talking about the health world. I know I'm deep in it, and there are so many different things that we can do. I'm talking to people about that all the time. That was what was frustrating me about being a kinesiologist and seeing people for the 1 hour because they were like, give me the list of
Yeah.
the tips and the tricks. But
Yeah.
we weren't ever getting into, do you have capacity to speak your truth to people? Can you communicate your emotions? Can you set the boundaries?
Mm,
And what is that voice in your head telling you is wrong with you when you do? To me, that
yeah.
needs to come first. And then when you've got a great grasp on that, add in all the little bits and pieces that make you feel good. But definitely, it's the self value piece and the self worth and everything that comes along with that. So, Amy, I would love to finish up with a few rapid fire questions, just four tiny ones. If
Go
you
for it.
can give me one answer to each of these.
I'll go quick. Nature to be short, but would
So, the first one is one fear that you have recently overcome.
one fear that I've recently overcome. I guess it would probably be in the retreat. That's a very recent fear of a bit of an ego thing. I've built this retreat and all I'm getting is the responses from other people about how amazing Emma and Jade are, which is of course exactly what I want. But that was definitely a new fear that I hadn't met before. And getting over it was voicing it, saying it, and being able to recognize that it is still me. It's a part of me, but it's not me.
Yeah, that's what I thought. One belief that changed your life was the belief that really shifted everything for you.
I say this about 1,000 times a day in our mastermind, but celebrate yourself. You need to be able to celebrate yourself and enjoy yourself, your body, your life, your love, your sexualness, your flirtation, your sadness, your grief, your ego, your celebrations, your wins. You need to be able to celebrate yourself. Without that, you'll always be chasing something else. You'll always be chasing the next thing. It's incredibly powerful, whether you want to call it a gratitude thing, whether you want to call it whatever. I'm like, celebrate the fuck out of yourself. You got a new boyfriend? What? They leave in 6 months' time. Who gives a fuck? Don't be afraid of celebrating yourself loudly and then being like, hey, that's not working anymore. I'm going to shout from the rooftops that me and Jack are going to get married, this, that, and the other. If in a year's time we break up, I'm not going to, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm going to be like, oh, part of the story. It's fine. Still going to celebrate. That's so important.
The gratitude piece for me, I get it, but it has never really resonated as, oh my God, I need to do this every single day. Celebration is way more enticing. It's so much more
Yeah.
fun.
It's
Why not
easier.
celebrate today?
Yeah. What can I celebrate? It happens all the time. Like I still sometimes don't celebrate things. And then on the retreat, people are like, by the way, that was mental. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It probably won't even land until I get quite deep on the planes. I don't know if there's something quantum-y that goes on when you're on planes at the elevation. But I think about death on planes and I get very grateful, like in a poetic way. I'll be sitting on the plane. I've also saved all of the video testimonies, probably a terrible idea to watch on the plane. So I'll be on the plane
Bawling your
this
eyes
is
out.
amazing. Yeah. But yeah, celebrating what you do, what you're doing, like it's insane. And I think
Yeah.
people get caught up on realistically the version of you 6 months ago, the version of you a year ago would be fucking like melting if they saw where you were now. Like Maria in September last year could see Maria now on a podcast, going to Spain, having all these one-to-one clients, launched her first program, about to drop a mastermind. She'd be like, wait, what? Slow down. This
Oh,
is wild. So cool.
what we're saying about it's all here already. The emotions that you want to
Exactly.
experience, you can find it somewhere.
Yeah.
The second last one is, and I love this question, what is one small little moment in your daily life that reminds you that you are living an unlocked life? Where you're like, shit,
Oh,
I get to do this.
what's one thing that reminds me each day that I'm living an unlocked life? I don't have an alarm. That's a great one. I don't have an alarm. I haven't had an alarm for I could not tell you the last time I had an alarm, like an actual daily alarm. Of course, I've had some alarms, things I need to do, but I don't have an alarm. I feel like that's
You're
the
an early
equivalent of,
riser, Amy.
yeah, I don't have curtains. I wait with the
Mm,
sun.
love that.
But yeah, I don't have an alarm. When I was younger, I always say, oh, wouldn't it be so cool to be able to go shopping without looking at the price tag? Like, I feel like not having a fucking alarm is cooler than that.
And choose that now. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a great one. Right, the last thing that I want you to tell us is for anybody listening that is right on the cusp of gonna change, gonna unlock something. It could be tiny in their life, could be something bigger. Or maybe they're listening to this and they're like, oh, okay, they're right. I have one life. I'm gonna die someday. What is the type of life that I really want to unlock for myself? What is your advice for that person listening who's right on the cusp?
All I can think in my head is the Shia LaBeouf meme that's like, still. But seriously, just leap into the unknown, knowing that whatever happens, you will be caught, and know that your life is so unique. You won't be able to relate this exact feeling you're feeling right now to anyone. And as much as you may be looking for advice from other people, we are all selfish by nature, and no one wants to take responsibility for encouraging you to do something that doesn't work. It's you, baby. It's
Yeah.
you. You've got
Mhm.
to dive headfirst, knowing that you will always be caught. When I was in Portugal, I was about to open up a wellness studio whilst I hadn't taught for 5 months, another mental jump. I went to a tarot card reading. I'd also met Jack at the same time, and I went to a tarot card reading and I was like, what do I do? Do I keep going? What's happening? And I pulled the Fool, which is 0. And it was the most beautiful picture. And it's this angel just tiptoeing literally on her big toe at the edge of a cliff edge. And there's all these birds around her. The lady was like, leap, you'll always be caught. You will always be caught. It just has always stayed with me. Even when things don't go the way that you originally planned, it's always leading you to the next place.
I love that one. Amy, thank you so much.
You're
Amy
so
on
welcome.
Instagram is at embody Amy for anybody who wants to check her out. I highly recommend it. And yeah, I'm so grateful, Amy. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is only my second podcast and it was fabulous.
I'm honored. Thank you. It's only my second podcast. See you back home.
Lots of love. Lovely to
Thank you,
chat to you.
Amy. Bye.
Bye.